More gang.
So let's get a confirmation from somebody.
Episode 1,500,073.
Can I get a confirmation that the stream is up?
It is up.
Yeah, it's up.
Thank you.
That's what she said.
Never gets old.
I gotta make Frank laugh.
Tina, you're encouraging male culture here. You should be careful.
Oh, it's so bad of me.
Yes, I'm embarrassed by it.
Okay, Tina, let's get going.
Let's
All
get
right.
going.
And Brent showing me something.
Why don't I see it?
It's not focusing the way it should. There.
Oh,
It's just a notification that says the Gilmore Gang is live.
all right. All right, I'm gonna focus on you, Steve. Can you get your head closer to the top of the screen for me, please? Thank you. All right. Mute is off. And we're gonna go in 3, 2, 1, and
Hi, Steve Gilmore here. This is the Gilmore Gang. Joining us from Palo Alto, California is Keith Tier. Welcome, Keith.
It's a pleasure to be here on the Gilmore Gang, which you said with emphasis, which I love to hear, that authority.
oh,
He wants us to know that whose gang it is.
Well, the only one
I
who
think the
really
feds
needs to
know.
know that is Frank.
Ah.
That's what you were pointing out, right, Frank?
It's a DNA thing. I can't do anything about it, Stephen. You know that.
That's true. And so that guy is Frank Radis. Welcome, Frank.
Hello, Steve. Hello, gangsters. Nice to see you from here in what is actually a very kind of gray, almost London-like New York City day.
That is the man that was born with attitude in his DNA.
Thanks.
Oh, you mean Bruce Springsteen? Is that who you're talking about?
I don't want to talk about Bruce Springsteen. Thank you.
It's going to be a great Broadway show.
Massachusetts. Yeah, it'll be fine.
Nah.
I saw him once. He was great.
Yeah, 5 hours into the concert when you fell asleep and he still had a set to go.
No, you can't fall asleep in a Springsteen concert.
I beg to differ.
Okay, good. Well, you can thank Keith for continuing to bring it up. And then there's from Massachusetts. There's what's your name again? Dennis Pombrian.
Ishkabibble Schwartz. Hi.
Ishkabibble.
Well, what's Ish is short for Ishkabibble?
It's actually short for Ishmael.
Okay.
Don't call him that.
Ishmael.
And how are you, sir?
My name is Ishmael.
Some years ago, never mind how many. I'm good. It's a wonderful, it was a good week. It's nice to be Friday.
Let's see. Michael Markman is in Seattle, Washington, or thereabouts. Welcome.
Thereabouts, yes, with a false background. It's a gray, gloomy London, New York sky today, or as we call it, a Seattle sky.
Is that Mount Hood behind you?
No, that's Mount Rainier,
Ah,
the big mountain.
that's the one where it was overcast for about 2 weeks. And I was walking along the street and I looked up and that thing was right there in front of me. It scared the hell out of me.
The amazing thing about the mountain, it hides most of the time, and then every once in a while it shows up and you go, whoa.
That's a big mountain.
Where have you been?
Right here. Let's see. Then there's in Georgia, the state of turmoil and upheaval. And that's Brent Leary. Sorry?
I think I heard Tina say confusion, which would be a good addition to the chaos and the other things you mentioned.
Well, how are you?
Chaotic, confused, just like every other Georgian around.
How about how's your broadcast schedule going?
It's another day, another broadcast of sorts. So, you know, it is what it is. Let's get it on.
Get it
Wow,
on.
you had two really great lines there in that one sentence. It is what it is. Let's get it on.
But
Right on.
good things come in threes. Baby, I was born to run.
3. Okay, so I'd like to talk about, or I'd like to hear you guys talk about Apple.
Apple.
Good fruit.
That's what she said.
That's what he said.
That's what Eve said? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what Erwin Corey's line was. I don't know. Stand back. I don't know how big this is going to get.
So I think they just wiped out Spotify and attempted to wipe out social media in one world WWDC. They wiped out Spotify by creating 2 new formats of music, lossless up to 192 kilohertz and spatial. That means Spotify is going to look like a BlackBerry did to the iPhone. It's going to look like all they've got is 2 speaker stereo and not lossless. So they had a huge announcement in the music space that is basically like a format change, with lots of artists adopting it and lots of studios remastering for it. And then secondly, with the FaceTime upgrade and the integration of sharing into Messenger, they created basically an iPhone-centric social network with no centralized social graph. So I think it's consistent with where they came from. Of course, what they didn't do is anything in the AR, VR space, which Michael Markman, I told you so.
They
They did a little bit. They did a little bit. They have a facility that lets you create 3D objects just by taking a few photographs of them.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
that's a great advance, actually.
yeah. No, it was great.
The AR VR march is a long march. It's going to take time, and
Not like the time.
they're capable of taking long marches to get to where they're going.
Well, I mean, I take a little bit of a different position about the music than you, Keith. On the one hand, remember Jay-Z tried to start up a high quality audio. Yeah. And I mean, it got, who bought them? Somebody bought them. Did Apple buy them? I just
No,
see
it was
Twitter.
No, it wasn't
All right,
Twitter.
so-
It was Jack Dorsey's other company.
Oh, Square. Yeah.
Oh, right. And I think we talked about that when it happened because they wanted to put them out of business, but that's another story. It seems to me that that the difference between what a Tidal could have done with a high quality audio and what an Apple can do is Apple has the time to let it work. And it's inside of a large ecosystem instead of it being a standalone thing. Otherwise, I think it would be tough. People, I think, tend not to want to switch away from something that they're very comfortable with unless they're given something that is, I can't even imagine what it would be that would make them switch away other than, oh, I'm already in the Apple ecosystem, so I think I'll switch away, or move or add on. Depending on, is it going to be a free? I didn't see WW's. I just read some stuff about the presentation.
It's free. It's just it's automatic. It's already there, actually.
Right. So you got it anyway. And how much storage does it have?
Well, it doesn't count towards your storage, so as much as you want.
So it's living in their cloud, and the whole thing is just, it comes on your phone, and
Yep.
that's it. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I just think that Apple has certainly the time and the money to be able to do that, and my guess is that that's part of something bigger that they're working on for later, which has probably got to do with AR and VR and spatial audio, which they probably just. I mean, that's what I was hoping to see or read about.
I think you're right about that part of it. Certainly spatial audio will be a big part of AR and VR as it comes along. But there are a couple of other caveats to make about it. First of all, the lossless audio is, and even Eddie Q has admitted this, is something that most people aren't even going to notice. It's something that isn't able to get across the Bluetooth barrier. So unless you've got a wired connection, it's not even there. And at my age, I don't think I could hear it. And I don't think most.
And by the way, that was one of the arguments about Tidal, was that, okay, I'm spending all this money, but I don't hear the difference on my car stereo.
In fact, Eddie Q said that on tests that they've done, about 98% of the people can't tell the difference. They only can tell the difference if you tell them this is lossless. And then they go, oh, wow.
Yeah. I think, but Michael, I thought it was the opposite. I thought it works on Bluetooth, but it doesn't work with a wired connection because that's an analog converter. I thought it does work on the AirPods and the AirPods Max if you're just using Bluetooth.
Spatial audio will work, but
that's what I meant. No, that's what I meant. Yeah, sorry.
I was talking about lossless.
Sorry. Yeah,
can't get across Bluetooth.
Well, I would reorder this discussion.
Can I say one more thing? I wanted to say one more thing about the
Of course, but I just want to say what I'm saying first, which is that I would reorder the discussion so that the changes facing Zoom and FaceTime are more relevant and important than the spatial audio. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, just a couple more things about spatial audio. You all remember when the Beatles released their high quality mono versions, and everybody noticed that actually the Beatles themselves spent hours and hours getting those mono mixes correct, and the stereo mixes were kind of an afterthought. The same thing is true with spatial audio. It takes time and care to remix and remaster something for spatial audio. And I just wonder, especially for catalogs, who's doing that? How many of the original artists are involved, and who is approving the finals? From the early reviews I've seen on spatial audio, it's very mixed. Some of them are astonishing to listen to, and most of them aren't. Mixing for spatial audio is going to be its own art form, and it doesn't happen automatically just because you have the capability.
The best spatial audio mixes that I've heard anywhere have been ones that incorporate some type of natural sound and sound effects as well as music. So all the sounds are in all the different directions. At least that's what they're trying to do right now with it. Although the advance of having it be available in two headphones as opposed to 4 or 6 or 8 is pretty astounding.
So can I jump in and say this is why I really appreciate the Gilmore Gang, because when Steve threw out, what do you think of Apple? Honestly, none of that stuff came to mind for me. And I sat and watched a lot of that WWDC keynote. But man, after last night and the DOJ stuff and what was going on with Apple feeding, the government all sorts of stuff on reporters, I thought that would be what we were going to be talking about with Apple.
I didn't hear that. What happened?
He's rolling his eyes, Brent, if you didn't see that.
That's what I thought you guys are going to be like going in on, because to me that's a bigger story, particularly when we just think about how Apple's privacy stance with the 55 upgrade, and how we've been talking about privacy, and here they are, feeding the government information on folks that the government wants to get.
It's ironic.
I can't believe that this is going on. Dennis,
you mean this year?
I can't believe that this is news. I don't think it qualifies.
Do they have any choice? Apple?
It was a subpoena.
Dennis, what do you think about the DOJ?
You mean the stories about the Trump administration trying to subpoena records?
Yes.
From Democrats?
Successfully.
Yeah, he did it.
Oh, it's despicable. It's despicable. And I'm waiting to see what kind of moves the current DOJ and the current Attorney General take next.
Do we think that Garland is not? I mean, I thought he was really the right pick and up for it, and there just seems to be a lot of chatter out there. It's probably all Republican chatter, but there seems to be a lot of chatter out there about him not acting quickly, succinctly. I don't know. What do you guys think?
He's got a can of snakes to deal with. I don't think it's necessarily possible to act quickly, and I think the DOJ does its best work when it takes its time and goes deep and delivers. So, for example, very recently, DOJ and FBI recovered 67.4 Bitcoin. I can't believe I'm saying that.
That was a great story. That was a terrific story.
That was ransom money paid by the Colonial Pipeline. And the reason that they were able to recover it was because the FBI DOJ built some software that organized crime in certain areas was using for years and they disrupted that. Now, who knows what Merrick Garland is doing?
That's a pretty long tail sting.
It's a long sting. But you know what? That's what they ought to be doing. They shouldn't be going after dirty laundry in Congress. They should be doing shit like this to keep America safe long term.
Yeah,
I agree. There's a paradox in Garland's position, because overall his goal is to depoliticize the DOJ, and how do you do that when the problem is that the DOJ is already politicized? So
you can't depoliticize the DOJ unless it's already politicized.
Exactly.
So we're in a good place now to do this.
The more vigorously he acts, the more easily he's accused of politicizing it.
By who?
The is about cleaning it up. The more effective he can be, but the less noticeable he'll be. So I don't think I know the answer to Frank's question, and probably won't for 2 weeks or 6 months.
But I think you raise the issues that are putting up these question marks, because I haven't read anything that was very specific to the problems other than what you just described, ascribed to Merrick Garland right now. And as I said, I tend to look at him favorably. And Steve, to your point about, it's a good thing. It's kind of like, the only way to get to the top is to start out at the bottom, or it's an uphill climb to the bottom. It's.
I didn't realize that was my point, but it's.
I don't know. It's point. Really sounding.
I think it's your point that sounds like it's mine.
Okay. Well, I'll.
So could you explain it?
No, I just thought when you said what you said, my immediate thought went to Donald Trump saying that everybody that needs a shot can get a shot right now. That's just what I thought.
Any lie.
But nobody needs one, is I think what he said.
But you know what else it shines? It does shine a light on Apple's decision since 2017-18. Which is that their encryption now, they've thrown away the private keys, so they can't actually do what they did anymore, even if they're subpoenaed.
So what is this new Apple, this new Facebook watch that has 2 cameras on it?
Where did that come from?
It came from, well, no, it's about privacy. To me, it's a privacy story that Facebook is announced that they're coming out with a product that will contain 2, as well as making it a health watch like the Apple Watch. So there's tons of data that is actually being fed through Facebook.
Again, I'm shocked.
Well, we're trying to shock you, Steve.
Well, you're doing a good job.
I will say this,
not
Frank.
succeeding.
I have got Facebook cameras. I've got a Facebook portal,
right,
and it doesn't do full duplex audio. So it's completely useless except for one-to-one calls. So if their watch is even close in its ability to actually execute as the portal, no one should buy it.
Well, there you go. I mean,
But
that'll always
isn't there
kill a product.
Isn't there something that I forget in the rush of announcements, somebody basically did a thing with the camera moving. I think it was Apple. As people move around the room, that they're basically doing a portal number on it. Portal.
Yeah, in the iPad. It's on the new iPad.
Okay, so what's that about?
That is just you know how bad the iPad is when if you ever use it on a Zoom call, the camera's off to the left if you've got it in landscape mode, and you never look over there, so you're never looking at the person you're speaking.
Yeah, but that's a hardware problem.
No, but they've fixed it in software by making the camera zoom into your face no matter where your face is.
Yeah, but that's not
eye
contact is broken.
Yeah,
on the iPad.
You can't change what you're looking at.
That's right.
Unless they create a software version of a camera that sits right in the middle of your screen and can be moved around, which is actually...
It does do a decent job. It's very different to the new iPad that has that in is very different to the old iPad that doesn't. It's still not great. I agree, Steve, but it's a lot better.
That's one of the things I was looking to hear that would be solved. That sounds like it was solved, but only
it would be solved by them moving the camera, which they still have not done.
But I do agree with you, Steve, that the bigger thing is multi-user screen sharing FaceTime. That is a fully featured Zoom equivalent for most things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's. I don't think it's going to put even the remotest dent in Zoom's trajectory. But I think that it's basically becoming a system service, and Google's going to have to copy it for Android. So that's a good thing.
Yep. Yeah. Google upgraded Google Meet this week as well in Chrome. You have to use Chrome, but the user interface is a lot more modern and close to Zoom-like in its functionality as well.
Yeah, I mean, internally at Salesforce, which I don't talk about much, but the Google Meet, we use that, and it's really become incredibly effective.
The other thing that happened this
not in terms of competition with Microsoft, although I think that it's a lot easier to use than whatever Microsoft is calling their 3 or 4 products that they haven't integrated yet.
The other thing that happened this week, which is in this field, is OBS released version 27 of OBS, which tells you how long it's been around. And version 27 of OBS runs on Mac, Linux, and Windows. And now there's a plugin that lets you do multiple outbound streams from a single OBS feed, thus for free, thus getting rid of the need to pay $200 or $300 a month for StreamYard or Restream.
Except
a year, I mean.
Except that, free is not free.
Yeah, there's a learning curve.
And Brent, you use StreamYard extensively. What's your thought? Do you think that's going to yield to software, or is their strategy of undercutting and insinuating themselves into the TriCaster market, is that going to continue to be successful?
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, because they got bought by Hopin, and I don't think it's been fully integrated into what Hopin does, or the combination of the two. The potential has been reached, but I just think this stuff is so fast moving. OBS is one thing, but I mean, look at just what's going on with ATEM. What they've gone through 4 models in a year and a half. I mean, they haven't done anything, over the last 3 months, but you never know with these guys, because we could get an email tomorrow saying there's going to be an announcement next week with something new. I mean, this stuff is moving so fast. It's kind of hard to figure out what's going on.
It's kind of hardware as a service.
One
Oh,
of the
man.
things one of the things to say about OBS is that many people are using OBS in conjunction with StreamYard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for them, it's a simplification. It's not a switch.
So since nobody said what it is, not Keith, but anybody else, can you explain what OBS is?
Well, if you go on YouTube and you look at all, for example, perfect example. I don't know how this got started, but I have fallen down this rabbit hole of looking at all these people doing these reaction videos to songs or movies or whatever, and you see them on the screen, and then you see this little window of the actual video. They're using OBS. So OBS makes it real easy to incorporate multiple video views, images, animations. And OBS is a free service, but then there's a whole bunch of people making add-ons, and so it's almost sort of like the WordPress for this video creator stuff, and it's going all over.
And but Keith, you can confirm that this is not available over it's not available outside of your local network, correct?
Yeah, well, actually, OBS supports NDI, and NDI 5 announced last week will allow Internet Anywhere cameras to be pulled into OBS as a camera. So OBS will be capable of doing distributed shows with multiple cameras.
Yeah, will be, and then you're in Newtek's grip because they control NDI.
Well, it's open. NDI is open sourced and freely licensable now. So
yeah, I remember how that went with open source.
But anyway, the main point is, which I think is the most interesting point, ignoring OBS as a product. And OBS is kind of like Linux. It's a open source community who builds it. Nobody makes money from it.
They make money off the add-ons and all the various content around learning how to use OBS. People are making a killing off this, but
there's lots of
the direct money.
Yeah,
everybody's got an OBS camera.
But what I was going to say is the move. I've got an A10 Mini. I've actually got two A10 Minis. I'm now wondering why I've got them, Brett. I wonder what you think. But I look at OBS and more. Like I'm using my OBS camera now, and if I can switch cameras,
this is helpful, very helpful.
Yeah,
I feel a sneak.
The camera set up in the coal bin.
No, but I can change my camera to this one.
There we go.
And so it's a TriCast. Functionality-wise, it's a TriCaster. It has ISO recording, it has multi-camera, it has lower thirds, it has backgrounds. I mean, so I'm wondering why I've got my A10 Mini now. I'm starting to think I might sell it.
Well, we're wondering why we have our TriCaster. We've got two of them.
I'm wondering why I still have an 8-track player sitting in a box. I mean, come on, man. This is the wrong group to talk about why we have stuff.
What does Brent think about that?
Yeah, but what does Brent think about that?
Oh, sure. Just look around Brent's room. He's got stuff back there from 1975. I can see it.
He's got stuff back there from last week.
Actually, yeah, that camera is pretty old.
What about the football?
Hey, don't knock the football, man.
Oh man!
Oh, you put some air. Did you put any air in it? Why didn't you put some air in it?
No, I'm leaving it as is. I don't want to do anything that could taint the value.
Right.
Because the air will.
Yeah, that new air could really do damage.
You got the original air in that ball. You don't want to mess with that. No,
and he's released that as NFT.
An NFT.
That's right. Hey man, Roman Gabriel blew right into that ball.
Yeah, so. You want to get some of that.
Now
Roman
it's Gabriel. Getting ugly.
I really gotta watch how I phrase things on this show.
Oh, you should talk.
Don't get a pit bull, Brent, because our pit bull has consumed 3 of those balls in the last 7 days alone.
Well,
I'm not- I'm not
going. I'm not going there.
Stay away from the pit bulls there, Brent.
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
mean-
good advice.
I don't know why they're legal. I don't know why people can actually have them in. Yeah,
No,
Yeah, they're not. They're all not so bad.
actually, they're really
Obviously.
soft. It's only
They
if
are.
somebody they're really
Train-
sweet. It's only if somebody trains them badly that they become
Yeah.
aggressive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they just have an extra big mouth, and you train them wrong, and that's the end of your arm. But they're very sweet dogs.
I can
Sweet.
tell you, ours is a complete sweetheart. So it's a she.
Aw, there you go. Who doesn't
Okay.
love a good pit bull?
So
All
do
right,
we
so
need
the-
A10 Mini anymore or not?
what?
Do we need A10 Mini anymore?
Yeah,
or
of
not,
course we
Brent?
do, because
Yeah, there's more
whatever
to it.
feature that we could wait forever for the open source community to provide in software, they're going to sell you one next week for $400.
No, OBS is already several times ahead of the A10 Mini in functionality. Like you can't play a video on A10 Mini without plugging in an iPad or a Mac or some other device. OBS, you just drag the video file in and it plays.
Yeah,
But you have to spend all your time learning about it.
Let's hear it, Brent.
And how much
Well-
does that cost? I mean, it's apples and oranges. It really is.
A10 Mini, you have to. Brent, how have you done super source on an A10 Mini, and much time have you spent trying to figure it out?
Actually, I just found this really good video that walks you through it really nicely. And there's some folks that have already created macros and templates that you can. It's easily to get going with it, and you don't have to do everything from scratch, which is making this stuff much more doable.
So
And the other thing about ATEM versus OBS, eventually, I don't think you're going to want to run everything off of one machine. It's the processing is, all the stuff you do on these machines, it starts to interfere with the video quality, with lags, and I like having it offloaded to a certain extent on the ATEM. I wish it would do more.
Not
Would
a-
you
not-
put-
Not
Would
if
you
you have
put
an M1
OBS
Mac.
Would you put OBS on it has, you'd put it primarily on either a desktop or a laptop, but not an iPad or a phone?
Could you put OBS
I'm asking.
on
I don't know.
iPad?
I don't know. I'm asking. I'm going to install
I
it
don't know about
in my laptop.
Well, what
and-
I'd like to do is to keep this to an assessment by people who are invested in it, namely Brent, and to
Not
some
me.
extent Keith, is, what's the longevity of the ATEM Mini system?
It's hard to tell.
In my
It's re-
case, I'm close to wondering why I've got it already now, and I only just got the latest one 2 months ago, and
Didn't you give that to Paul Greenberg?
No, he bought his own.
Oh, okay.
I gave him the very first one. He's bought 3 other ones since.
I mean, Brent's right. It is fantastic because it takes all the processing away from the computer to itself. But now you've got an M1 Mac. I don't know if you even care. I mean, I'm running OBS now. This camera you're seeing me on is coming from OBS as a virtual camera, and and I've got a huge spreadsheet open. I'm doing Zoom. M1 Mac doesn't seem to have a problem.
Are you are all your cameras going directly in through USB?
No, they're NDI, so it's software cameras.
Okay.
And it looks to be about 2 frames soft as a result.
Yeah, so if I let me change back to the physical camera. So now I'm on the physical camera, which is coming from the ATEM Mini.
Oh, I guess you're just out of sync. Now, I thought, yeah.
He set you up on that one.
I've
Really
perfected the art of my mouth only moving after I've said the word.
Well, everybody now has a demo of the latency problem with going software only.
Well, except
And
with
scene.
except with WebRTC, they just launched now this new codec called AV1, which is 12-bit for those who are technically competent in
Oh.
movies and TV.
Wow.
It's 12-bit 4x4 HDR color with Dolby surround sound, and it shrunk the amount of bandwidth required. So it's now, Google Chrome built it in 2 weeks ago. And the company I work with, Cosmo Software, it's now part of their back end. So latency is becoming less than 100 milliseconds with all that.
So Frank, in your newsletter, you have a story about, and I've forgotten it since the last 5 minutes when I saw it, but there's, oh,
I
I
do that
know.
all the time.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Don't sweat it. It's an age thing.
Sweat what?
What? What are you talking about?
I'll go look for it. You guys can continue while I try and change the subject.
Oh my, I haven't. So let me get back to this OBS. You were talking about software cameras. Okay, so now I'm really intrigued, and I'm going to go download OBS and start playing with it as soon as we hang up. But tell me about software cameras.
Software cameras obviously are not really software because there's a camera, but the camera has built in a TCP/IP stack, and it supports a protocol called NDI. And NDI is basically, in television you have SDI, which is a
Right.
physical connector. NDI is SDI in software. It's called Network Device Interface as opposed to whatever S stands for.
Right.
So they've basically turned SDI into a network protocol that is pretty much latency free and can be received by any NDI receiver.
So it's a physical hardware camera that is connected through a
software interface.
A software interface. Totally got it. I just was a little curious as how you were defining what a software camera was, and that's and now that makes a lot of sense. And but do the cameras have to be software cameras to connect to OBS?
No. So the one I've got in front of me now, I'm choosing to plug it in via HDMI, but I could unplug the HDMI and make OBS read it using NDI, and you still see me with no latency. So it's basically, it's got all the same ports as a normal camera, including SDI, but it also has NDI. So now
you could connect the camera to your, if you were using a laptop, say, to power OBS, you could connect number of cameras through USB.
Yeah, you can. Well, the way you have to do it, because most cameras don't have USB, high-end cameras tend not to have USB. So what you do is you plug them in using HDMI into the A10 Mini. The A10 Mini has USB. So now you switch cameras on the A10 Mini, and it's feeding via USB into your Mac, which camera is live.
Okay. Got it. Good. I have like 3 cameras with HDMI connections, and so I know. And I've
got an A10 Mini to sell you. They're only $900. Do you want it?
No thanks. No, I have my next $900 is already placed on another guitar, which I will not be able to bring back to London.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the time filling. In your newsletter, which is terrific.
Thank you.
Yes, well, so is Keith's, by the way.
Yes. And so is Dennis's. I'm a fixed. I'd like to see more of yours, Dennis. Actually, it seems to it doesn't seem to be as come out as often as I'd like to see it.
That was
passive. I'm really worried. I was really worried about oversaturating. You think it needs to come out more often?
Hey, look, Dennis, charge him. He wants it bad enough. Make him pay for it a little bit.
Plus,
excuse me.
I'm looking for.
That was Dennis. That was a passive.
Couldn't understand your cough.
I actually didn't want to do anything that would get us in trouble with the FCC.
That was one newsletter writer to another, giving you a passive aggressive shot across the bows, saying, "I publish every day. What's wrong with you, dude?"
Oh, come
Yeah.
on now.
There's Keith stirring it up, man.
Lots.
Who knew? So
Yeah.
in your
What story?
newsletter,
Mhm.
there's a story that the headline of which is HBO Max and Discovery Plus already surpass Netflix and Disney in the number of titles.
That's an amazing thing, and that is the I talked about a single title, but it's all about the titles that got them together. I don't think that they're gonna really do some kind of a way to monetize all of that content all at once. They're going to spread it out over forever because they have that much stuff. It's crazy. I didn't realize that the numbers were that astounding until I saw that story, and I was holding that. I didn't know whether I should hold on to it and publish it myself or stick it in the back channel. But
so the conventional wisdom has been that
nobody beats Netflix.
Yeah, and not only that, but everybody's basically fighting for the number 4 spot.
Yeah,
with all the other tech behemoths in the lead, and it appears that that's not true.
No, the funny thing is that it struck me that that there is no way that all of this content is good. First of all. So yes, they have a tremendous amount of content. They also have a tremendous amount of really crappy content.
Yeah, well, we've run out. There are no good shows. We're waiting for tonight. That's Lupin Part 2 can come on.
Exactly. I mean, no, that's great. I actually put a couple of notes out about that. I can't wait either. I'm looking forward to Call My Agent and the British version of Call My Agent, but that's another conversation. There's so much really crap out there that it can't sustain too many big companies. The biggest companies that have as much crap as they do really great stuff, they'll be able to intermix it. I mean, I found myself recently going through everything on Netflix I could possibly go through, including foreign language films, Keith. And I found very few that really caught my attention or that made me stay with them. That was a real shock. So I welcome, by the way, another gigantic player into the scene. I just want to see how it's going to affect how much money I'm spending on all this stuff.
I think there's a lot of consulting money to be made by helping them understand how to let the world know how good they are, because right now they look like a chaotic bunch of brands. And by the way, if you drew the year of production of that catalog, it would be heavily skewed to the past, not to the present.
Yeah.
The new titles would be quite thin. So
Yeah.
I think they've got problems. I don't think they're in good shape.
Yeah. Are you talking about Warner Disney?
I'm talking about HBO Max.
Oh yeah, I think you're right about HBO Max. They're going to have to take advantage of other concentrated production partners to create more content, new content, and that's the thing. If Warner Brothers has a very big old library,
they're good. Their content, their new content is awesome. That said, I'm watching Hacks. I watched Mayor of Easttown. I mean, they have some fantastic new content. There's just not enough of it.
Yeah.
Same with Disney.
Look, exactly the same with Disney. By the way, did you see Loki?
Not yet. No.
That was good.
It's very good, and it's got some surprising things
Is
going
that
on.
animated?
No, it's live action, and it's good. I was really surprised.
The first episode of Loki was the most tedious hour of television I've ever seen.
I don't disagree that
This is the magic of the Gilmore Gang, right?
No, it set up the characters. You've heard of character development. They were developing the characters. Thank you. And if it doesn't blow up in my face on the next episode, I won't give it a third shot. But I will say,
it was an hour-long previously segment, which usually runs for 30 or 40 seconds in front of a show. Here is the entire story of Loki for everybody who didn't watch the 6 movies.
Do that. No,
He's gonna spoil it.
Anybody who didn't watch the 6 movies that he previously appeared in.
Can I just say hello to Dennis? Is we're doing a lot of talk. And I can see the
This
And
the
that's coming,
steam.
that's coming from the guy that normally just looks to the left for the whole
I know.
show.
I empathize with him. You know, I can feel it. I'm there with you, buddy.
Look, we did a
I'm doing the Brent,
clubhouse.
I've got the Brent slot today.
We did a clubhouse a couple days ago, and Brent was there for the entire almost 2 hours, said nothing. So looking to your right, looking to your left, it's a clubhouse. We have no idea.
Well, the only difference
on-
is I was off camera, and that was really
Yeah.
Oh, you were watching,
know,
I was watching the
sports.
playoffs.
Yeah,
On
exactly.
Clubhouse, everyone can hear you scream. Well, I'm just trying to.
And that's
Thank
what
you.
you said.
Yeah.
Okay, so Dennis, I didn't mean to interrupt your lack of response. Hello?
He's continuing with his lack of response.
I'm looking to my left and to my right.
So how about that filibuster?
Is another one?
No, seriously. Are we any closer to not changing the filibuster period? Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, I think we're getting closer. Yeah, it might not happen this session of Congress.
Do we think there'll be a bipartisan plan for infrastructure? It sounds to me like they're inching closer to something.
Oh, they'll get something, and it won't be enough, and the Republicans will run on it. And I think what's happening right now is we're setting up the what we're going to contend on in the 22 midterms, and I think it'd be really smart of the Democrats to try to nationalize the election, to basically give America the choice of more obstruction or try something new.
By
That would
nationalize,
be-
you mean to make federal rules trump local rules?
To go to the electorate and say, I don't care who's running in your state, we need more Democrats. Please send us more Democrats.
Yeah, I think it's nationalizing.
That's
the
kind of
message.
risky.
It's,
Oh.
it's
kind of-
nationalizing the message, not nationalizing the rules.
Right. It's kind of risky because the last three elections, the Democrats won by staying in the middle of the road and appealing to kitchen table issues. I think nationalizing the election has to be part and parcel of that. I think going too far to the left is dangerous, and I think the left the left in the Democratic Party is proving itself to be completely out of touch. And Ed Markey, who is a senator in my state, said he wouldn't be voting for an infrastructure bill if it didn't contain enough support for climate change. What is this? These guys
which is out of the new bipartisan proposal.
Well, not only that, but these guys used to go to Congress, or their predecessors used to go to Congress and try to get half a loaf. They get half a loaf and half a loaf and half a loaf, and at the end of the session, they could say, "Oh, look at all we've done." These guys think they can pass one bill and it's going to have everything in it. It's just dumb. Pardon me, I'll go back to sleep now.
Well, but what you're saying is that one of the most fun parts of being a politician is being able to lay the pork into a bill, and you're saying let's get rid of that. How dare you?
Actually, they did that a long time ago. Not a long time ago. A few years ago, they agreed not to have riders and pork bill spending.
That is earmarks, yeah.
Yeah, but can you stay on the point that you're making, I think, very cogently, which is, if you go for a half the loaf solution and the Republicans block everything that you do, why are you wasting your time doing that?
Well, I think that's how you get to nationalizing the election. You go to the electorate and you say, we tried. We tried to get you this. We couldn't get you this. We couldn't get you that. There you could easily, and I'm sure there's a list somewhere of the 10 worst traffic bottlenecks in America. There was a story in the Times about the bridge between Kentucky and Ohio across the Ohio River being one of the second worst choke point in the United States. Number one being was it in New Jersey where Chris Christie had Bridgegate or
that was the GW Bridge.
Yeah, that's like the worst toll.
Yeah.
That's the worst.
I think it's the southern end of the city is where the
Well, the GW Bridge has been being worked on constantly, I think, for like 30 years. I don't think they've ever stopped working on it. It's kind of like the
Sydney Harbor Bridge. They're always painting.
Yeah.
But the point is, if you're at all smart about how you wanted to get legislation across, it would be very easy to barnstorm across America saying, and just go to every city and say, I want to fix this, and they won't let me. I want to fix this, they won't let me. You could easily get consensus. It wouldn't be hard. I think 62% of the electorate is in favor of doing a big infrastructure.
But there's a big impediment to that, which is that the news media won't cover that.
They won't have to. They won't have to if it's local, and local will cover it, I think. And that goes back to the conversation we had last week, by the way, about the importance of local.
Let's not go back.
Well,
I want to stay on this. I want to stay on this point.
Where the president goes makes news.
Yeah,
and the president can drag people around.
So what's the risk, Dennis?
What's the risk? I don't know. The risk right now is doing nothing and getting nothing and getting voted out. I would say the risk is doing nothing.
I don't think that's a risk. I think that's likely.
There is one strong anchor in the Democrats' program, and that was the American Rescue Plan, the COVID relief plan.
Sure.
That passed. It was highly successful. It was highly popular. It's so popular that many Republicans are claiming credit for it. So,
well, many Republicans can, because Trump also signed a $3 trillion Recovery Act.
Yes, but they're specifically claiming credit for things that are in the Democratic bill that they voted against.
Yeah, but that's okay. I'm good with that. They can claim all the credit that they want, just as long as it gets done.
Well,
and no, I thought you were going to say that was shocking.
Look,
but that was your point, right?
I think you need some analysis on how the vast majority of the electorate gets their information. It's not all from watching Fox News or watching MSNBC. The paths for information reaching people who don't consider themselves news junkie need to be looked at. And some of it is on the ground organizing. Some of it is outreach, walking, knocking doors. Some of it is local billboards, local radio. They're all
You're absolutely right.
There are all kinds of paths, and it's a mistake to think that you have to rely on the news to get your message out.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you have to rely on the news. I don't dispute the idea of local. All politics is local, right? Isn't that what Mickey Rooney said?
That's what Mickey Rooney said.
Yeah. You would know.
What I am saying is that right now we're down to about, I would suggest about 4 to 6 weeks, more like 4, where the Democrats have to get serious about how to be able to break this logjam. And I think that the media is against them breaking that logjam.
Well, it changes the dynamic of the story. I don't think the media is against that. I just think it just changes the dynamics of the story.
Yeah. Media doesn't care as long as they got something to cover.
Yeah,
right.
And something that people will watch, and they're not going to watch what you're talking about. They're going to watch. Well, the media keeps throwing up these, pictures of the former president as though anybody gives a damn. I mean, they're not.
No, I can't. I'm still.
They're not a force for a resolution of this issue. They may not be able to stop it. They may not want to stop it. To your point, Frank. But what I am saying is that there's a political argument that's being fostered right now, which comes down to, are we going to go for a big, big bill that doesn't pass and therefore is a big nothing? Or are we going to take all of these bills apart and then pass them all individually at the local level? Isn't that, Dennis, what you're talking about?
Well, I almost think it's too late to do that. I think the other thing, I think Republicans could easily do to smaller legislation what they've done to the bigger legislation. What I think needs to happen is instead of that, or in addition to that, there needs to be much more focus on the Republicans intransigence. And I think the way you do that is, and we haven't seen a lot of this, Joe Biden came down $1 trillion on his infrastructure plan, and the Republicans responded by coming up 50 billion. And I think that is the nucleus of an argument that they're not serious, that they're purely obstructionist. And I think that's what you use to nationalize the election.
I agree with Dennis on that. You know, I think the Democrats, if they message it properly, are ahead whether the bills pass or they don't pass. In some ways, they're even better ahead if they don't pass. I'm still holding on to the slim hope that Manchin is playing a long game, that he's saying, look, I gave the Republicans every chance they could get to work with me, and I got nothing for it. I mean, Manchin may turn out to be the hero of this whole game.
I hope you're right. I honestly, I hope you're right. I don't think so, but I hope you're right.
I don't think so either, but I hope I'm right.
Okay, well, Keith, do you not think so, but you hope he's right?
You know, this is where I feel very weak because I don't really understand the details of American politics enough to have an educated opinion. To me, I get exasperated that America is not a nation state and that what you've really got is 50 countries, and that policy ends up in Washington ends up being meaningless because it doesn't have any impact on the ground except for some very big things. So it feels like a total mess to me, but then that is the mess of politics, isn't it? When you go into politics, you start in Palo Alto, then you become something in the Bay Area, then you become something in California, then maybe you become a congressman or a representative or a senator. And as you do that, you get further and further away from doing anything that can impact, the people where you live. And that to me is just weird. I think America needs reimagining and reinventing as a nation.
Makes me think about, I'll admit that I don't know Manchin's background, but I do know about West Virginia and what kind of state West Virginia is. And without knowing a lot about how Manchin got to this point in his life where he became a Democratic representative of a Republican state that went, was it 40% for Trump? And the machinations of the things that happened in West Virginia to their economy when coal stopped being ripped out of their mountains. They were already poor, but they just got poorer. And so it just doesn't, that gives me makes me think a little bit of that Michael may be onto something. But the real world of politics it's not going to happen.
What's not going to happen?
He's not going to be playing some long game that's going to get turned around in the end, and he's going to say, "Okay, see, I told you," and then he's going to jump on the Democrat bandwagon. I don't think.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with you. Here's why.
Okay.
There's one school of thought that thinks that this is just an ego trip on his part. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that's the case, because if it's an ego trip, he has no end game unless he does what Michael's talking about.
I don't know how smart he is. I don't know. He doesn't seem like a dumb guy.
He's pretty smart,
he seems pretty sharp.
his history, Frank, is that he came up as Secretary of State in West Virginia. So he
And
actually
governor.
was responsible for running elections. He knows that business. And then he was
Mm.
governor of West Virginia. So he knows that as well. He's kind of a Joe Biden figure in that he's got a long history and a lot of really specific experience with how politics works.
Well, I hope you're right, Michael.
I think-
do.
I think
I
you
don't
need-
think there's enough to, but I think you're right, Brent, or whoever said it. Maybe it was you, Dennis. There isn't enough time left for that. For even if you're right, for that to matter. Do you think?
Well, I think you need to look at the Mitt Romney model for this. Romney,
We're totally
Romney,
screwed.
say again?
I'm just joking. We're screwed. We're totally screwed.
Well, wait, hang on. Romney voted against or voted for removal of Trump from office. And he was the only Republican to do that. And if you recall his speech, it was a tortured apology to his party. And he almost broke down and cried a couple of times during the speech. It was a tortured apology that basically said, you know, I've been a Republican all my life, but this is a step too far. This is a bridge too far. I think if you keep that in mind, then Steve's idea that Manchin could come along and say, I've had enough, makes a certain amount of dramatic sense. I think it could happen. I'm not saying it will.
Well, I'm good
These
with
are-
me being right. I'm okay with that.
It's good to agree with the host every now and then.
Yeah, Steve, you're absolutely right.
I think one of the things that
And you're tall.
one of the things I always try and keep in mind about the commentariat and left and Democratic Twitter is that it's very short-term focus. If that bill doesn't pass tomorrow, everything's dead. I don't know why. I don't know why. If Merrick Garland doesn't fire every Trump holdover by this evening at 4 p.m., everything's dead. I don't think it works that way.
No.
I think things move more slowly and at a different pace.
And the media doesn't really make it feel that way.
No, the media.
Right.
The media is looking for things to report. It's very hard for the media to report on nothing's happened today.
Damn the media.
It would make a short show.
So there is now. See, there's one of the big challenges for the new streaming news networks. Try and figure out how
I'm
to
not
make.
going. That was, we have a clubhouse that we recorded for 2 hours that talks about.
Oh,
that.
okay, and if you want to know more about that, there is
But
Okay, so we have to start to wind this up.
let me just say one
Our
thing.
producers, I'm going to let you say more than one thing, but first I want to tee up that Keith said something to me yesterday on the phone that I want to just introduce, which is a little bit of a context switch. Now, go ahead, Michael.
I was going to say, in the old media universe, there were nightly broadcasts, there were daily newspapers, there were also weekly magazines, there were also monthly magazines, and there are books. And you're able to deal with things on different timelines. In the internet world, everything is what happened in the last hour.
last 10 minutes.
Okay, that's a good
Yeah.
setup. So Keith, you said, among other things, on the phone over the last 24 hours, something about how you thought that there's something interesting going on with Twitter. Do you want to elaborate what you meant by that? Because I looked at your newsletter and it doesn't say that.
Well, there wasn't a lot of news related to it this week. So my newsletter tends to be based on what I read, and what I read tends to be based on what people are writing this week. So
So what did you mean by that?
So what I mean by it is Twitter is reinventing itself. It is moving away from being the hashtag and an @mentioned news stream, the waterfall, if you like, into being a partnership between creators and consumers of creators' output. And it is building a whole set of tools. The latest being that they're going to include a link to subscribe to your newsletter in your Twitter profile if you have a review newsletter. That's just one little indication of this. There's lots of others. And it feels as if they've figured out how to become, I'm going to use a word that I don't really mean, but I can't think of a better word. They're trying to become a portal with engagement between the best creative content and everybody who wants to access it without actually becoming a portal. They're going to continue to be a stream, but what you will experience as an individual is going to probably feed you with a very large percent of everything you want to consume.
So there was something that I believe is true, but nothing other than tweet about it to recommend that, which was that there was a Bitcoin newsletter guy, Nick somebody, Carter maybe, who did a Twitter Spaces 2 days ago, and it had reached an audience of 22,000 people. Evidently, the president of some country dropped in. I don't know the details. I'm not sure that I believe it, but since I don't know how you find a Twitter space if your life depends on it. But there's something going on there. It's the intersection of crypto, obviously, all of the, I don't want to get into the politics of that, but there's a intersection there that I think is why all these big tech vendors are going after this so-called creators economy.
I have a friend that's a big executive at one of the major banks, global banks, and he's in the marketing group. And we were talking last night about Clubhouse, and he said, no, I refuse to use Clubhouse. I only use Twitter Spaces. And I said, well, why is that? He said, because I'm in the Twitter universe. That's where I feel comfortable. This guy's a representative of a group of people who are now in charge of those kinds of things in the world, making comments like that. I thought that was powerful. I'm with you though, Steve. I wouldn't know how to or where to. I'm sure now the next thing I do after I install OBS and then add my subscriber button to my Twitter profile, I'm then going to go and find out what is there about this Twitter universe that I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you talk to somebody who has an iPhone, they think that there's nothing else. And if you talk to somebody who has an Android phone, they think that there's nothing else. So yeah. I don't see the
chocolate, vanilla.
I don't see the team approach, pardon the expression, to, are these guys up? Are these guys down? I think they're both up. And that for everybody who doesn't trust Clubhouse, there's going to be a corresponding number of people that don't trust Twitter.
Yeah, we're all talking about it. That's all they care about.
Well, I just think that something's happening here, and we don't know what it is.
What it is ain't exactly clear.
All right, last thoughts. Start with Michael.
That's what I'm here for, Brent, to make you laugh.
We started talking about Apple. There was one other, I think, significant thing in the events, and that was the way they are unifying the UI across the Mac and the iPad OS, where you can actually use your Mac cursor control and keyboard to run your pad. There's something going on at Apple that is really going to unfold over the next few years with all of the things that were announced at the WWDC. And I think that's one of them. They're creating a hardware space which is very tightly integrated.
Mhm.
from the watch through the TV OS, through the Mac, through the iPad and the iPhone.
That's a universe. That's the universe.
All right, Frank, last thoughts.
My last thought is, should Jeffrey Toobin actually be back on the air?
Ooh.
No, I don't watch CNN, so I don't care.
Well, but I mean, even if you don't watch CNN, if you say you were watching, I don't know, your favorite Fox News show, just kidding. Jeffrey Toobin, if you don't know, was caught in a Zoom call with his primary employer, and he was pleasuring himself and was caught on video doing that and was fired from basically from 2 jobs. However, one of the companies that let him go brought him back. I personally, I'm not a prude. I just don't see it.
I think the question is, well, put it this way: what he was doing is completely normal, just not on Zoom. So
yeah, I suppose you could look at it that way.
So then the question is, do you forgive a mistake?
I don't think that's the question. I think it represents really poor judgment. And
assuming he was making a judgment, though, Dennis, what if he wasn't what if it was just a mistake?
Well,
I find that very hard to believe. There's a green light right there. There's a green light, and we know what Zoom is. If you have such poor judgment, there was a study recently that I saw that said something like 14% of people admitted being on a Zoom call in the last year with insufficient clothing on their bottom half.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean,
Well, that's true for network anchormen too.
Yeah, but insufficient may mean the guy didn't have anything on. That'd be different, because I don't know any network anchormen that ever went out and did it with absolutely nothing on. Brent, what do you think of this conversation?
We're talking about
I remember going to CNN in Washington with you, Frank.
Yes, Tom Jarrell.
And you introducing me to Bernie Shaw.
Bernie Shaw, who was at the time still at a real network.
And he was sitting at his anchor desk, and he had no pants on.
Was he pulling anything?
What?
I mean,
because that's what we're really talking about. When it gets to judgment, we're talking about the act, not the fact that he was wearing shorts or not wearing shorts.
You're absolutely right. And that's why it's a lack of judgment, I think, not only on his part for doing it, but on the part of the company for bringing him back.
But it's not even a lack of judgment. It's like, what the fuck were you thinking?
There are 2 layers to this. There are 2 layers to this. One, he was in a business meeting and masturbating while he was in a business meeting. And 2, he let the camera see what he was doing. But the bottom layer, if I may say so, is already a lack of judgment. I mean, how many business meetings have you sat at where people are masturbating under the table? Well, you probably don't know.
We have no idea.
Officially, I don't know.
But I think it's.
Thank God I don't know. It's probably not too many. But see, we can't actually say.
Thank you.
Anyway, there you go. That's
your
that was my last thought.
You did a good job. That was what your was, right?
That's it.
Okay.
It's my lead story tomorrow.
Brent, I know you're thrilled to be on.
I'm done. No last thoughts here. Carry on.
But that is the last thought. Might even be a sneak peek.
Brent, wait. Brent, what's the matter, man?
What?
It's always great to be on the gang, guys. Always great.
Oh, man.
Well, that's democracy for you.
Isn't that what Toobin got fired for? A sneak peek?
Oh my goodness! All right, can we cut?
You know, the more interesting. There's a more interesting discussion.
No, you don't have another one.
Did I? I didn't have one yet.
Well, exactly.
That's what she said
at work. Okay, Dennis, last thoughts.
Oh, so many. I don't think I could summarize anything into a last thought. I will do a better job of putting out my sustainability newsletter. Maybe I'll do 2 next week.
Or one every 8 days, one
You
every
know, I
7
guess-
days.
Let me just say this on behalf of Dennis. He is conserving energy.
Okay,
He
Keith,
lives his newsletter. Is that what you're saying?
There's
Dennis
a programmatic
lives.
reason to not consume all that electricity that it takes to publish a newsletter.
Dennis
this
lives
is
his
not
newsletter.
mining Bitcoin, that's for sure. So, is that,
Keith, last thought.
Chris Matthews is also making a comeback.
Yeah,
What?
I
yes.
saw that.
Yeah,
Where?
and as a matter of fact, he was on Meet the Press
Yeah.
at the invitation of Chuck Todd, the first intelligent thing that I think Chuck Todd has done in months.
Once again, it just proves that the audience has a very short memory. Do not overestimate the audience.
I mean, they addressed it specifically in the segment and at the end.
Yeah.
So
The best part of his comeback was that he did a guest appearance in the time slot that he was booted from to promote his book.
right,
Yeah.
invited by Joy Reid, who also did I think, a smart thing. I
Yeah.
mean, at some point, people have to grapple with human frailty, and so I'm in favor of the actions that those anchors took, and
He was
think-
also on Colbert.
yeah,
I don't think anyone asked Jeffrey Toobin, or has he been on the air yet? Will they ask him? So about that time you were on that Zoom call.
No, it happened.
No, he did address it. I don't think that
He did?
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
Did he do it on camera?
Google up his
Oh
statement.
yeah. You
No,
go to
that's
CNN.
good.
You go to CNN.com right now. There's a link to that. It was him
All
and
right.
Allison Camerata, and
She's good.
she went
so,
there. She went
yeah.
all the way there, and he answered. It was interesting.
Sounds
All
like,
right.
sounds like he was put up to it by his agent.
So
Think-
that was your last thought, Keith. Well done. I want to thank our producer and director, Tina Chase Gilmore.
Thank you.
Yay, go Tina.
Uh,
I
Good
thought we
show,
were supposed to
Tina.
be hearing more from her. Like,
no, that's Clubhouse. You have to join it. You got to be in it to win it.
and add stuff to it, Brent.
No, I thought the
Oh, yeah.
Clubhouse thing went really well, and we'll be doing more of them, but not over short.
Brent and I are going to do a Clubhouse. It's going to be a lot of signing.
you know what? The one
I'm
thing
looking
I do
forward to that.
regret, the one thing I do regret about last Clubhouse, I really could have done a better job of updating you guys on the score of the game. Yeah.
You could
Yeah.
have done that.
But I think
I
you
could've.
were keeping the magic alive, that we had really no idea what you were doing.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's a good thing. I mean, we need time to rest from the round the clock live video stream.
Yes, we
too,
do.
By the way,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
I don't know how you do it, Brent. I honest to God, I'm you're my idol, man.
I conserve my energy while doing the Gilmore game.
Oh,
And we are a service.
thank you.
To the
Gilmore.
community.
Rest.
Okay. I want to thank Keith Tier. Thank you, sir.
You're very welcome. It's been a pleasure.
I want to thank Michael Markman.
Thank you.
I want to thank, what is your name again? Oh, yes, Frank Radis.
Thanks. Yeah,
Yeah, me.
Steve.
Back
But Michael, thank you for the link to that thing on Engadget.
You're welcome.
I don't mean to trivialize anybody's the thanks. Without your participation, there would be no show. And
What?
the
Who?
group, everybody.
Of course.
I want to thank Brent Leary, however silent he wants to be. It's good by me. And bringing up the silent core is Dennis Pombriant. Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially, I'll try it again. Yes, you were going to say something?
It's good to see you all.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Hello, silence, my old friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.